Alright, we're gonna have Daybreak.
And I mean, is c.SaroVati going to go for that same build once again? As I mean, you mentioned earlier, c.SaroVati really well known for having those kind of quirky builds. But enough out of that. Let's go ahead and introduce the players first.
Alright, we've got Trimaster is gonna be the representative from Complexity. He's the red Terran in the bottom left, going up against Clarity's c.SaroVati. He is the purple Protoss in the top right, who is actually does this first actually let you stack? No, it doesn't. This is the really the only thing about Daybreak is that probes do not stack. Um, as you can see, he's really trying to
Yeah.
make it happen though.
Yeah, on those close mineral patches, guys, the workers don't actually, they can't actually mine just two at a time. They eventually get desynced and then decide, hey, there's too many workers over here, so I'm going to go mine at a distant patch. And I mean, it's the small things that allow for small little advantages, but of course, at this level of play, even the small things make a difference.
Yeah, and I've actually done some experiments with stacking your probes and everything. If you do it properly without any difficulty, you actually get a fair amount of minerals back that you wouldn't have had before. The difference is surprisingly a lot.
Hmm. And I mean, yeah, exactly that. It could just actually mean, you get your zealot out a little bit earlier, even if you get it something like, say, 4 or 5 seconds earlier. That could mean the difference between, saving a couple of your pros from getting sniped off and losing them and falling a little bit behind economically.
And one of the things that I kind of find interesting about c.SaroVati is the fact that he still sends out a 9 pylon scout in PvT. That really fell out of fashion for a lot of Protosses, just favoring getting the scout after the gateway, getting a couple minerals more, making sure that you can actually get your consistent pro production all the way through.
I think that might have a little bit to do with kind of his weird style of Protoss versus Terran that we saw in that last game, where, I mean, he wants to be able to scout out that gas from the Terran to see whether or not the gas is actually going down. And if it is, then he needs to react differently because he was planning to go for that Stargate play. And if the Terran just decides to wall off, it can be so difficult for a Protoss to get actually a good idea of what the Terran is up to.
Yeah, it looks like c.SaroVati will be skipping that first Zealot, which is very greedy. There, he starts it now, because he's got to make sure that there's not going to be any eBay or something thrown down, because that would be really big delay on getting this down. But it looks like he should be able to. Will he decide to cancel this to get the Nexus? He does cancel it, and there is the Nexus.
And that SCV is going to go ahead and scout it out, even though he doesn't actually manage to block it or anything. He's going to go ahead and hide happily in this base, hopefully be able to get out a little bit of a later scout, but I'm sure that c.SaroVati will probably send that first stalker out around his base to pick off that SCV.
The funny thing is actually, I think he thought it's already gone. Like, look at the probe. He's looking for the SUV hiding in the natural,
Oh,
but it is not in the natural.
well, that's kind of interesting, but yeah, they could actually come back to haunt him a little bit if Trimaster is able to get out a really nice scout off to see exactly what c.SaroVati's up to. That could actually be really huge in this matchup to be able to get that scout off and see, what kind of tech they're going for.
Oh, c.SaroVati is going for the places that the SUV is not, even with the stalker.
Oh, he's being so clever about it too. He's scouting around the third. He's going all the way around. Has control of the Zelnaga watchtower, but it's actually just sitting there in his base.
Ah,
It's
that is just really good awareness by Trimaster, knowing exactly where to put it and how to put it to make sure that it is okay.
Yeah, and speaking of Trimaster, let's go ahead and take a look at actually what he's doing as this SCV comes in and scouts out everything c.SaroVati's doing. Trimaster is actually going and has already added on those three, or has those three barracks that a Terran player will generally have after they go for that one Rex expansion. He's going for that tech lab. So, I mean, do you think he's going to be going for faster metavacs or what?
He probably looks like he's playing more standard play. He's going to go for 3 barracks, the factory, and then the starport, build the reactor on top of the factory, and then go for double medevac production, and just make sure you can be aware of any kind of Colossi timings, see if he needs to add on a second starport, whether he needs to add on a couple more racks, whether he needs to start working on getting double upgrades or single upgrades, see if there's going to be aggression from c.SaroVati, and respond accordingly, or maybe even just get a really quick third. But right now we're having c.SaroVati pushing forward with a bunch of stalkers, going to do a little bit of damage against these Marines, and he's going to warp in pure stalkers, and now he's going to start playing a little bit of feast style of PvT, where he's going to be putting a lot of aggression forward with just stalkers while he macros up.
I actually love the style of Protoss versus Terran. I actually used to do this a lot. It's a lot of fun because you can just poke ahead with those stalkers and just retreat them because they're going to regenerate all of those shields. So as long as you make sure you don't take too much damage, don't end up losing those stalkers, you can go ahead and continue that aggression and potentially even go up toward Blink and you behind it. The idea is that you play super duper greedy and you force the Terran to pull all of his units over to the front. So you get a great scout off to see what they're doing with. No, it doesn't look like he's going to do that. He's going to go for a robotic facility.
Yeah, he is just tying up 6 SCVs doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. The bunkers got Marauders locked in, so they're going to be able to do a lot of damage against these stalkers. And look how little damage these stalkers have taken.
Let's just take a look at the units lost tab, and we can see 7 units lost of 4 Trimaster. Those are all those Marines that he's lost from those stalkers, and in the meanwhile, c.SaroVati's lost 1 unit, and that doesn't even tell the true tale. And again, those SCVs want to be mining, and not only that, but they're constantly repairing this bunker. That's additional work or resources lost this early on. I mean, that's pretty painful. And meanwhile, c.SaroVati's going to go for a third behind this.
Looks like that is really greedy, but if he can pull it off, he just has to make sure not to overextend himself, because look at this. The starport is already done. It's going to be landing this reactor in a second, and he'll be able to start working. Oh, God! We have... Oh, c.SaroVati did something... Okay, just... c.SaroVati just did something great. He sacrificed a few stalkers, did a little bit of damage. There was a stim already on his units. He doesn't want to get caught, and so he's going to make sure he can escape with as many stalkers as he can. And that is a subtle thing that is really, really key.
Yeah, and I mean, he does manage to finally get out, even though the proxy pylon will get taken out. I mean, he still has a couple of units at home to defend, and look at this. He's actually already positioning those 3 stalkers that went ahead and retreated over in his main base, preparing for the drop play, and this is going to work out really well for him, I feel.
Yeah, we'll see if he can be really okay with stopping those things. He also, notice, abandoned the idea of getting that third. The second that happened, aggression happened, he's like, alright, cool, time to commit to more Colossi and tech, going for Blink as well as the Colossus themselves, just to make sure he can actually defend, because if he overextends himself, he will just die.
Yeah, and I actually really like the positioning of that proxy pylon that's right outside of the third base. Oh my god, he's actually going for the third base now, and
but it's the order that he's getting it that's important. He went for the Colossi first, and then the third, as opposed to the third and then the Colossus.
It definitely makes a lot of sense, and looks like all these Marines and Marauders are going to be able to pick off this single pylon, and no, c.SaroVati should be okay, but he needs to probably reposition his army and get that Colossus over there, and he has to be super on point with those force fields. You have to remember how small his main force is right now. He needs to be able to make sure that that Colossus can maintain a distance from all those Marines and Marauders.
Now, Trimaster has not formally seen the third base, which is kind of interesting. I think if he knew that was there, he would just go in and start attacking it, but now he's actually grouped up a large amount of Marines and Marauders with 3 medevacs. They're going to push forward, but c.SaroVati's got to be careful. What is he doing with those stalkers? But they have Blink. Oh, that is really key.
Yeah, and oh my god, just barely getting out of that Observer as the scan did go down, and you know, Observer with 4 health, he's going to feel pretty happy about that, as that scan was wasted. And is Trimaster faking a drop into the main?
Yes he is. There he is, and now his units are stimming. They're going to run straight to the third. He scanned, saw nothing there. He's going to get this third.
That is the coolest thing I have seen this game so far. I mean, Trimaster just really knowing how to play mind games with c.SaroVati, knows that c.SaroVati, because he doesn't have a huge stalker count anymore, had to pull a bunch of his units back over to the main to defend against, 3 medevacs dropping in the main. He knew that the entire army would be out of position and wouldn't be able to defend that third.
Yeah, now we have the third base being taken by TriMaster with a full-fledged orbital command, and he's got more medevacs on the way. His second starport is now done as well, so you can start going for a good, healthy bit of anti-Colossus production through those Vikings, and I would be surprised if we start seeing a ton of upgrades coming in too, as the armory is now halfway done, and there is a single engineering bay, but no second one.
Yeah, in comparison, if you look at c.SaroVati's upgrades, he's currently starting to research a +1/+1, so he's still actually a little bit behind. And if TriMaster goes ahead and starts that +2/+2, as soon as that armory finishes up, he's going to be sitting in a really nice and comfortable position with the upgrades.
But there's another stim pushing forward, cancellation on that pylon, nice little move there, and now he's getting a couple force fields, but he only has 4 sentries. Each force field thrown down is potentially a big loss.
Yeah, I mean, he will be able to force field off for just a little bit, but oh my god, there are actually a couple High Templar out with Storm halfway done researching, so once Storm gets out, I feel like he's actually not going to have too many issues against this army. Considering 3 Colossus plus a couple of High Templar for Storm, he's going to be sitting very nicely in. TriMaster, even though he does have that upgrade advantage, he needs to get out that tech, and there we actually see a Ghost Academy being thrown down.
Yeah, I mean, something that c.SaroVati's great with is producing units and making them effective. He's going for either really important units or versatile units. He's got Blink Stalkers, and then he's basically got Sentries, Colossi, and High Templar. There's very few Zealots in here. He's got 16, which is not that much when you have 152 total supply.
Yeah, and one thing I want to note is just this little ridge over here right outside of the Protoss' natural expansion. I mean, that could be a really critical point if an engagement starts happening around that area, because those Vikings can actually just sit right over that ridge and basically not take many shots off from those Stalkers, and in the meanwhile, they'll be able to start sniping off those Colossus. So c.SaroVati's going to have to be very aware of that.
Yep, and he's making sure the vision isn't there. He used the Colossus to get high ground vision to push back this factory with those Stalker shots. But now we're seeing death over there. c.SaroVati's still at 4 held observers just right there hanging out. But well, yeah, we may have... oh, does he want to storm with this High Templar?
That High Templar is going to have enough energy for 2 storms very soon if he decides to try and push out and do a little bit of damage with it.
Yeah, but we're still 3 base versus 3 base. TriMaster slightly ahead in income, but barely. I mean, the worker counts are very close. It's those small little mules that will be making the difference if they do decide to land. But we are having the retreat of TriMaster. He doesn't want to let c.SaroVati get that really key engagement of Colossi and Size, so he's going to pull back while he still has the advantage.
Yeah, and we do see TriMaster basically almost maxed out at this point as he starts to get a couple of ghosts mixed in. Those are going to be really key in landing those EMPs on those High Templar. And yeah, I feel like c.SaroVati's going to be really comfortable in terms of that late game engagement, just in terms of his unit composition. I mean, he's going to be able to warp in a good number of Zealots that are going to have charge actually, and you know, with 3 Colossus as well and High Templar out. I mean, how is TriMaster going to have to deal with this engagement? What's he going to have to do to make sure he gets the better end of it?
Well, for one, he may want to wait for a cloak to be done, or if there isn't time for that, just poke in with just the Vikings. Try and do a couple pot shots, waste the blink, because if he can coax a forward blink from those Stalkers while picking off a Colossus or 2 and then getting his Marauders to engage those Stalkers, that'd be huge.
Oh, we see a storm going down on top of the ghosts, and the ghosts do manage to get out, and they should be healed up by those medevacs. Thank God they are biological units. But, I mean, just dancing back and forth between these 2 players. But in the meanwhile, c.SaroVati has actually already gone ahead and started that 4th expansion in the center, and TriMaster starting 4 4th expansions.
Yep. I'd almost venture a guess to say that that's 4 times better than 1 expansion.
Indeed, especially when you have mules coming out from those command centers.
Oh, for a second I thought there was actually another base over here on the mini-map, but then I clicked over there. It's like, oh, it's a massive army. Never mind.
Hey guys, just make a square formation and then, you know, we'll just start mining.
That'd be kind of funny.
I mean, have you ever wondered why Marines can't just shoot the minerals and have them, you know, come off? Or why can't Marauders do that? Why can't any other units mine?
Probably destroy the integrity of the crystal.
Fair enough. Oh my god,
Oh,
we see
there's
some
a lot
really
of
big
storms.
storms.
Great storms going down. Now the Colossi are going to start swiping away at everything, but there's no more Observer here. But there we have these ghosts doing a lot of damage. Apparently, when they get healed, they don't get revealed. That's kind of funny, but now we're pushing forward. There's so much burning just going down. It's a lot of those cargoes. c.SaroVati is getting a nice engagement, but these cloaked ghosts. These cloaked ghosts.
Oh my god, those cloak ghosts are making that engagement okay for Trimaster, surprisingly. Like, I mean, honestly, if that Observer did not get picked off, c.SaroVati would have easily had the advantage in that engagement just because of the giant storms that end up hitting at the very beginning. And I mean, being able to pick off all the Colossus, that's going to be a really nice win. We can see that c.SaroVati has not even begun to replenish that Colossus count. And, you know, with so many ghosts still left out on the map, those High Templars are going to have the possibility of getting EMP'd. And c.SaroVati's going to have to be prepared for that.
c.SaroVati also has to prepare for a nuke.
Oh my god, we're gonna have a nuclear missile. That just makes my day.
Also a burning down factory. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this destruction. That's imminent. And there it is. Big explosion for everyone to enjoy. We also have a triple robotics facility actually going down right now. We're having 2 Colossi and a War Prism now being produced. That's pretty hectic. We got Charge and Blink down there, but there's, weirdly enough, no drops from Trimaster. And Trimaster also has blatant vision of this Nexus being thrown down.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting to note that Trimaster hasn't really gone for the drops. I mean, he went for the fake drop earlier on with 3 medevacs that allowed him to snipe off the 3rd, but beyond that, hasn't really done a whole lot. And in the meanwhile, with the War Prism speed finished researching from c.SaroVati, I would be expecting him to, you know, move in with that War Prism and also try and maybe force an engagement at the same time.
He's going
but
Colossus
look at this
drops.
This missile turret line in Trimaster's base, main base.
Oh, he does not want any type of harassment there, and it'll be hard pressed to have a War Prism move forward. But this War Prism has the movement speed, but you know what else has the movement speed? Observers. He actually got the Observer upgrade in. Oh, will c.SaroVati pull back? He does pull back, taking 1 shot. Nicely done.
That is really well controlled and very difficult to do, especially in this late game situation where you have so much going on. And really props to him for being able to do that. And in the meanwhile, I'm really curious to see what Trimaster is going to be planning to do. Is he going to try and force an engagement anytime soon? As he is sitting on a maxed army and is now just going to be building up a bank. And with all these sensor turrets or sensor towers being thrown down, that's definitely going to give him a decent. Oh my god, picking up another War Prism. But I mean, he's going to have a pretty good idea of when c.SaroVati tries to move out.
Look at this look at this Warp Prism seeking missile turret that he has here in the top middle. That is purely to deal with Warp Prisms.
That is pretty smart, and hey, he might even get lucky and maybe get an Observer. Who knows?
Hey, those observers are speedy now. Maybe they can just go right by it. But
There
both
are
players,
a lot of Observers out.
yeah, both players are now maxed. But a big thing is the upgrades. You have 3-3 for the ground on the Protoss side, 3-3 for also the Terran side. So there's no massive balance to go from one side to the other. It's just max versus max.
Yeah, but look at this Colossus count from Trimaster. I mean, there are still quite a few number of Vikings out. Or sorry, for c.SaroVati, and Storm going down, getting a decent hit, but it does end up getting sniped off. And the Viking Cloud should be able to actually start picking away at some of these Colossus if c.SaroVati is not careful.
Look at the 5 observers that is with that army.
Oh god.
That is just...
That is... I mean, they'll be able to tank some of the Viking shots for the Colossus. When you have that many observers.
The new tank unit.
But, oh my god. All those Vikings are going to be able to get off some good shots over that ridge. No, it doesn't look like he wants to chance it, as I guess all those stalkers do have blink, and he also has to be very much aware of the Psy Storm going down on those Vikings. And looks like once again both these players are just going to be sitting back and finishing up whatever upgrades, finishing up the gateway production, and building up that bank. We're going to be sitting in this for the long haul.
I think we're going to be seeing a switch to Sky Terran soon.
I think that might just be for the Vikings, the weapon upgrade, but...
No, it's the factory that's being produced that makes me think that, to enable starport production.
Oh, oh, that's actually quite interesting. Um,
Because he's already got the +3 ship weapons done for the Vikings. He just needs to work on the armor. Because he can start taking a battle cruisers, Banshees, Ravens, and Vikings, and that could be devastating. And he's going to have the economy to do it, because he's working on his 5th base right now.
yeah, not only that, but I mean, he has a giant bank of not just minerals, but 3,000 gas. And oh my God, the Vikings getting some really nice shots off on the Colossus, not losing too many, but able to snap off 1.95 Colossus. Unfortunately, 0.05 of a Colossus still does damage, and there's a nuke going down.
But he might be able to force the Protoss back, but I don't think Saravati is going to fall for that. He's pushing forward now. We've got all these observers going way gung-ho. But there we have a big storm on top of all the Marines and the Marauders. The PF, though, is still alive, and we're having the nuke land on nothing. But still, CeroVati's Stalkers, oh, they are so overextended right now. And Trimaster is just crushed that army.
Yeah, and I have to say the most important thing about that was just the fact that he killed off every single one of the Colossus, and all of the High Templar also died as well, so now you have to realize CeroVati has basically had all of his high tier and very important units reset. He's just now warped in a ton of High Templar, and he's going to have 3 Archons as well, but they're, I mean, how much energy? Oh, it looks like actually most of those High Templar are just remaining from sitting back over at his main base, or his 4th base.
And that's unfortunate for CeroVati. This new base of his gets scanned immediately. But the one thing that's good for CeroVati is that he's already maxed again, and he's got a new set of Colossi, High Templar, and everything. But he's got to be really, really careful because these are +3, +1 Vikings. But may force a cancellation on this base. There's so many Marauders and Ghosts. And there we go. We've got a lot of strikes from the Colossi. A good spread of units, though, from both sides. However, the Colossus are getting picked off. That Colossus won't even get any shots off. And now we're having mainly Stalkers against these mainly Marauder forces. But charge lots coming in, and the landing and the re-lifting off of those Vikings. I don't think it might be. Wait a second. Is CeroVati now taking advantage in this?
CeroVati is definitely taking advantage of this, I think, as, I mean, he's just starting to clear through with all of those warped in 3/3. Two in the shield upgrades. Zealots are just ripping apart the Marines and Marauders, and those Archons even doing a ton of damage. He's pushing through.
This is an incredible turnaround from CeroVati. Trimaster, look at how much money that Trimaster has. CeroVati is starting to basically need to just warp in a bunch of High Templar just to be able to use his money. But he's saved his base. He's got a ton more. Look at that. Look at all this. He's got 15 High Templar here.
Oh my God, that could be a lot of storms, but you have to remember, with High Templars come great responsibility. You have to make sure you split those up, because just 1 or 2 EMPs could just spell doom and disaster if you're too clumped up. And same thing goes for those Archons. You have to be very much aware of the possibility of them all getting EMP'd. But oh my God, are there actually even... There are 0 ghosts out on the map right now.
Oh, that's really unfortunate, but now we have this planetary fortress that's really going to be the key thing. CeroVati is going to go and get a nice storm off on some of those bio units down there. We're going to have High Templar here. They do have their storms. They're going to be storming around the PF. Really, really important storms going down there. As we're seeing it push forward, there's just so much damage to be done. CeroVati, I think, just 2-0 Trimaster.
Yeah, he is up 100 supply at this point. And you know, there is not but a single Viking that gets taken out. Just trying to kill off these Colossus. The Colossus count alone is already scary enough for Trimaster, but just the Archon count alone would be scary enough. But that is actually going to cause a GG, because it is just too much.
That is it. And with that game, if we take a look at the brackets, that means CeroVati has he's just set up his spot, so he's going to be in day number 3 of this IEM Singapore America's Qualifiers. It is the c.SaroVati Singapore LAN qualifier for the American server. Just in case this up there was a little bit confusing for you, it is a great tournament, a great event, brought to you by c.SaroVati, and go visit them at c.SaroVati.com. Also Twitter, Facebook, and youtube.com/IEM for each of those, to make sure you can find as much information as you need And we are going to be also thanking our sponsors, Intel, BenQ, and Patriot. This has been day number 2. We are going to be seeing you again tomorrow for day number 3. And this is going to be an incredible tournament to continue watching, as c.SaroVati has shown himself to be an incredibly innovative player. And I am ecstatic to see how he's going to be playing amidst a slew of new players, as well as ones we've seen today, as we've got Gosu User, who beat out Sasquatch. He'll be in there. We have c.SaroVati along with Boyo and Stardust Light, previously known as Sunlight, or if you pronounce his name incorrectly, Season Light, as today has now been completed. I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I just want to talk to you guys for a little bit